and I do have quite a few updates. So yeah, I guess I'm back.
There's a couple billion people in the world, and a million other places we could be, but you're here with me. Take a moment just to take it in, 'cause every high and every low led to this. I'm just so glad you exist.
Oh, it's been a while. God, this is crazy. So hi, if you're new here, I'm just Tricky, also known as Vic, or Vicky, whatever you want to call me. I'm pretty bloody easy like that. It has definitely been a while. I think I haven't uploaded for quite a bit of time, and I do apologise for that. I just want to start by saying, you know, all these people that you watch are real people, and sometimes we do get burnt out, and I'll be honest, I love advocating. I love creating awareness for multiple different conditions, especially medical devices, which I do have too. If you missed that, I do have a loop ileostomy now, and it is nearly a year old. But yeah, even though we love something, sometimes we do need some time away from stuff, and sometimes it shows us how much we do love doing something. And I do have quite a few updates. So yeah, I guess I'm back. So about a year and a bit ago, my near on 7-year relationship ended, and I had just gone through my technically third endo surgery, which lasted 3 hours, and I was also diagnosed with adenomyosis, or adenomyosis, however you pronounce it. You know, we all have different accents, we all pronounce it in different ways. But yeah, I was diagnosed with that. And I also went through a lot regarding my bowel. And obviously, if you guys followed that, which majority of that journey is on my Instagram, which is this. So if you're interested in that, like, that is where you'll find that information. But pretty much I ended up having a loop ileostomy from a lot of bowel crap. Significant fecal loading, I'm not joking, like my colon was full of crap. Yeah, and during my whole entire journey, in fact my whole adulthood and end of my teens, I knew that I wanted to be a mum. I've been very vocal about wanting to be a mum, and if you know me personally, you'll be smiling because I pretty much don't shut up about it. So when my near on 7-year relationship ended, I knew that's still something that I wanted, but you know, you kind of need a man to create a child. Kinda. No offense to any men out there, I'm a lover of you. Like, this is not a bashing man video whatsoever. Some of the most important people in my life are men. This is definitely not that type of video. However, I do want to be a mum, and you know, when you come out of a relationship where you was very much in love with someone, it's very hard to see yourself with anyone else. And as my endo ladies would tell you, like all my infertility ladies would tell you, sometimes like this life is not that kind to my sort of person. Sometimes we don't have 20 years to wait, you know, and that's fine. Everyone's journey is completely different. So long story short, as always, I'm rambling. I decided to go ahead and do IVF as a single mum. So yeah, kind of big news. If you follow my Instagram, it's not going to be that big of news because you'd already know. So yeah, this is the beginning of my IVF journey. I want to start by saying, because this is very important to me, especially because I've been the other side, I still am on the other side of it. For my endo ladies and So my endo, my adenomyosis, my polycystic ovary, my infertility ladies. This is a message literally just for you. This is a complete safe space. So all my videos will be trigger warning for IVF and pregnancy, etc, etc, etc. Anything that says Just Tricky plus me is to do with this journey. Anything that just says Just Tricky is to do with anything else. So my usual content, which is to do with medical devices, advocating, etc. I want this to be a safe enough space that people like myself don't feel like they're bombarded with baby content, you know, because it does get hard. I've been that woman, and I still am that woman who walks through a baby clothes aisle and feels like shit, or hears a baby cry and has to literally hold her breath to stop herself from crying herself. Like, I know how that feels. It is horrible, and I wouldn't wish it on anyone. And this isn't just for my endo and infertility ladies, etc. It's also for them women who very much want to be mums, or men, because men struggle with infertility too. But it's very much for them people who want to be parents and right now is not the time, or your body or your health is just not allowing it, because I've been there. It is fucking horrible. I wouldn't wish it on anyone. It is physically and mentally painful, and it is draining, and my main thing in this is that you guys feel safe and you want to watch my content. And if you can't watch the content to do with babies, trust me, I get it. I totally get it. But if you're wanting information on certain things to do with IVF, maybe this is going to be part of your journey, whether you're doing it with a partner or you're doing it by yourself like me. You know, I'm here. I'm here for people to learn through my mistakes and through my victories. And, you know, there's barely any information out there on IVF with medical devices, or IVF with chronic illness, or IVF as a single parent who happens to also have medical devices. You know, there's just not a lot out there. And I believe in pain into purpose. You know, this, as beautiful as this journey is, it is also painful at times as well, and I'll touch on that in a minute. But yeah, I'm here. I kind of went missing for a bit, but I'm back. And yeah, my main thing is everything's trigger warning. And like I said, if you are wanting to avoid baby content, or you want to make that decision yourself on whether you want to click on that sort of thing, anything with Just Tricky plus me is to do with IVF or babies, or that sort of genre of like conversation. Anything that has Just Tricky on its own is my normal content. Okay, so you know, I'm not gonna spring it on you, I promise. So getting into the actual beginning of my IVF journey, now we've got all of that out the way. Like I said, my near on 7-year relationship ended. I obviously and still am absolutely devastated about that. I can't lie. It was obviously a massive part of my life, and that person will always hold, like, oh, Vic, fucking hell, always hold his place in my heart, and he knows he does, and like, that's the main thing on that. I apologise in advance if I cry in this. It is very emotional. Like, it is not to be taken lightly whatsoever. At the end of the day, this is to do with a life, you know? This is not a new pair of shoes. And like, I always say, this is not a new pair of shoes. This is a life. This is potentially a human being, you know? It's a big thing. And this is a very emotional journey. And I want to be honest and raw and real, and like not edit out the fact that this is not sunshine and rainbows. Like, it can be very hard. I didn't come to this decision lightly, and I know that there are people out there that have their own opinions on that, and that's fine, you know. But what I will say is, again, I've said this before in one of my videos, there are real people behind these cameras. They have feelings. This is real life. Like, no one makes these decisions because they just feel like it, you know. There are normally reasons. So with that in mind, like I was saying, this is a whole new journey for me. It is a very big one, and so when the relationship ended, I took some time. I went through 2 major operations, different procedures under general anaesthetic in between them 2 operations as well. Then I went through a lot of healing, a lot of body changes, because obviously I just had a stoma formed, and I was getting to know my body again, getting to know myself again as someone who was single, because obviously I'd been in a relationship for a very long time. And yeah, while that was all happening, I was doing research about IVF and like what it would mean to kind of do it as a single parent. And funnily enough, at the time that I finally came to peace with different things, I filmed this, and this is actually like in the moment real emotions when I'd made the decision to go ahead with IVF. So back to past Vicky. God, this feels weird to come and do. I can't even believe I'm about to say any of this, but like, I don't know if this will end up being put up there, mind me Spotify, so stressed, or if this is going to be like a whole beginning of a whole new chapter for myself. Who knows? I have my gynaecologist ringing in about an hour. We're going to discuss the fertility assessments, if I can get them on the NHS, or if I'm going to have to pay private. I've got a feeling I'm going to have to pay private. And yeah, like discussing kind of where do I go from here, like how do I become a single mum, I guess. What the fuck, like that's so weird to say, like God, it's not how I thought life would go, and there's so many emotions around it, like it's ridiculous. I honestly don't know how I feel. All I know is like something's calling me to do it. Do you know what I mean? Like I've known, I would say pretty much my whole life, that I want to be a mum, and obviously being diagnosed with endometriosis, hell, being told that endometriosis was a possibility was completely heartbreaking to me. And then when they went back in and checked my womb, and unfortunately they found severe adenomyosis or adenomyosis, however you pronounce it, you know, you start feeling like you've got a clock. I'm only 25. Am I even 25? I don't even know. No, I'm not even fucking 25. Stressed, I told you. No, I'm 25 in December. But yeah, like, I don't know. I've been doing this journey since 17, 18. I think that's when endo was first brought up to me. Yeah. It feels right. It's just scary. Like, it's scary to know kind of like the costs of it, you know, whether or not your gynaecologist is going to agree with becoming a single parent and using sperm donor, or, you know, like your family. Lucky for me, I've already spoken to my family, and they're all, even my grandparents, which they're angels. They are like my mum and dad. My mum is incredible, but my granddad is my dad, and I'd say my nan is like a second mum, 100%. You know, they're all very supportive, so that's what I've got my own place now. My health is well, as good as it gets for someone who's chronically ill, which I know a load of people have opinions on that, but quite frankly I'm human, do you know what I mean? Like, I still deserve to live a good life. But yeah, ever since I've had the loop ileostomy done, my health has definitely been more manageable. I think this is the longest I've not been in hospital. So that's good. But yeah, it's like, I'm just nervous that fertility clinics and stuff are going to be like, well, you know, you have medical devices and stuff, we're not helping you. I don't know if they could do that. Like, I don't know. It's a whole learning curve, and I plan on documenting the entire thing. So I just got off the phone with my GP. Vicky. I just got off the phone with my gynaecologist, which I absolutely love him. I've been under him since I was 17. I have high trust in the man. Like, he's brilliant. I mean, there was a couple of things he said that I was like, no. Like, endometriosis doesn't necessarily grow back. And I was like, we've done 2 ops and it definitely did grow more. Then we went on to the discussion about my plans for babies, etc. And he was ridiculously supportive. He has tried to do as much as the fertility testing on the NHS as possible, so I don't have to pay for that because it's expensive. And yeah, I'm quite happy. I honestly have so many emotions. Like, it's exciting, it's sad. Obviously, it's not necessarily how I thought this was going to happen. But fuck's sake, like, it's such an emotional thing. Like, I don't think people realise. I'm just sat here with me dressing gown wrapped around me, but yeah, like, in a way it's empowering because, you know, I'm taking control of my life for the first time in my life. It's just not how I thought it was going to be, and I think you'll hear me say this many times, and I've just gone through a breakup, so oh no, I haven't just gone through it, but it's still raw, you know. It's nearly 7-year relationship, so, you know, it's not something that you just stop caring about. But for now, we've started. The process has started. Like, today I took the first step. So the test that I'm getting done is my AMH, SFH, and then IFU and some other stuff as well. So, like, that's cool. My gynaecologist is actually in Kent and I am in Leicester. So he's sending me a detailed report of all of his operative findings, etc. As well as, well, what was it? Oh yeah, a blood form for the first step, the blood test. Oh my god, it's scary because I kind of don't want to know the numbers, but regardless of the numbers, you know, we're doing it. Oh my god, that is freaky. You can see from all of that, like, I obviously was very emotional. I still am. Again, it's a very emotional thing. It's not to be taken lightly. And yeah, I had the appointment with my gynaecologist, who was incredible as always, and I had known him since I was 17, and I was very vocal to him all the time that I wanted to be a mum. So yeah, I began that. I had my AMH done, amongst other things, and I ended up choosing a clinic. To begin with, I went with one particular clinic that was based in Manchester. They didn't know anything about medical devices at all. I wasn't necessarily overly fond of the process and stuff like that. There was nothing wrong with it, but it just didn't feel right. And what I will say in this is, you're going to probably look at 101 clinics. Do not just jump at any clinic, because you are trusting that clinic to help make your child. That is a massive thing, you know? You're trusting them with your body and your mind, because at the end of the day, again, it's a very emotional thing. Sometimes it doesn't always go how we want it to go, and you need to have support. 110%, you need support in this. And just because you're going through as a single parent, like, support comes in different forms. It's not just your partner. Your support system can be your family, can be your clinic, can be the doctors in your clinic as well, your friends. Like, you know, there's different levels of support. So with that in mind, I didn't really get on well with that clinic, in the sense of I didn't think it was a good fit for me, being someone with medical devices. And I kind of thought it was just that clinic that didn't know a lot about medical devices. At the end of the day, the doctors, I kind of assumed that they would know. So I moved on to a different clinic. I joined their webinar. If your clinic that you're looking at does have these, look into it, because it's gonna show if there is gonna be like a bit of conflict with how you assume this journey is gonna be. Which, can I just say, with IVF, you're gonna assume it's one way, and it's probably gonna be the bloody other way, because of one, it's tailored per person. It's not just a whole universal thing. You know, all of our bodies are different, so it differs from person to person. So my journey might look one way, but yours could be completely different. So with that in mind, I watched their webinar. I wrote down all the questions I needed answered, and I booked in my baseline, because you need your baseline to start. Can I just say, I get it, but fuck me, does a baseline add up? So your baseline, my specific clinic, because again, each clinic is different, only lasts 3 months. So if you have your baseline and then you're out of that 3-month period before you start, you have to pay again for your baseline. There's no ifs or buts, you pay again. And believe me, that adds up. Another thing that is the same is bloods. Bloods will only last 3 months as well, so you have to have them redone. It doesn't sound like a lot, and you're like, oh, it's just one scan, or it's just one lot of bloods. Girl, this shit adds up, like, for real. So I had my baseline done. When I went into the clinic, so my clinic actually has 2 halves to it. One is nurse-led and one is consultant-led. I originally applied for the nurse-led side. I love nurses, I want to be a nurse. Yeah, let's be honest, nurses is the best policy. I just feel like I get along with them more, and I have not had good relationships with consultants. I have got some good relationships with certain consultants, like my gynecologist, but for the most part, yeah. Does everyone remember Shitty Susan? I think that's ingrained into my brain for life. So yeah, with that in mind, I applied for the nurse-led, and certain things were needed to meet their criteria. This is included an AMH over a certain amount, a BMI under a certain amount, and age. So I am now 25. When I started this process, I was 24. And the age for them was, I do believe, 35. So this is for my specific clinic. That does not mean if you're over 35 you can't do this. You can. You just got to be like careful what clinics you go for. And this is something to do. Research. And I tell you guys this all the time with your medical devices and stuff. Research. You can never do too much, but you also have to keep an open mind that sometimes research is wrong. Or it might differ. Again, everyone's different. So I went to my appointment. She went over my AMH because I made sure I had that letter ready and printed. I thought I was so prepared, so proud of myself. Yeah. I'll get into it in a minute. But yeah, she looked at my AMH. My AMH is classed as satisfactory. I know that there's people with lower, and I know that there's people with higher. And for my age, it wasn't counted as normal. It's at the bottom end of satisfactory. Considering I have endo and adenomyosis. I'm not surprised, like my body's been through a lot, you know, a lot. So she said, yeah, look, we can work with that, that's fine. I then had my baseline scan, which is like, it checks everything pretty much. There's an internal ultrasound, which if you've not had an internal ultrasound, they're piss easy. Like with endo, they can be a bit achy, but honestly, it's nowhere near as bad as what I thought it was going to be. So for anyone going into that sort of thing, honestly, if you've gone through like medical devices and stuff, that's a piece of piss. Like, you're going to be fine. Like, completely fine. It's very nerve-wracking because obviously they're going to do your follicle count and stuff like that. And, you know, we're all human. We all want to know good numbers. And can I just say, trigger warning in this, because I know there's going to be some women watching this whose follicle count's going to be lower than mine. And I just want to say, look, absolutely, again, we're all human. We all react to things. And just because yours is lower, it doesn't mean that I'm undermining yours, because technically, if yours is lower, yes, you know what I'm getting at here. Like, you're more dire, can we just say that? Or you're more in need of IVF within theory. However, like, no matter who you are, these numbers, they're going to affect you, whether they're high or low. You know, you could have a ridiculously good follicle scan and you could still be like, right, but I thought it should be this, you know? And I think this is where we all take for granted our numbers, because there is someone out there with lower. But it doesn't mean because someone's got lower that your anxiety towards your own numbers is any less real. My right ovary had a follicle count of 8 to 9. They couldn't say for certain if it was 8 or 9. So we just say 8 to 9. And my left had a count of 7. So this was 8 months ago. Can I just put into perspective, if you're expecting to kind of go into this and pop out with a child, like, straight away? No. Again, everyone's journey is different. Mine has been going on for 8 months and I've not actually officially started. So, you know, just tricky fashion. Takes fucking forever. So that was my follicle count. So it was 8 and 9 on one and 7 on the other. And she told me, again, not necessarily normal for my age. Again, I'm just going by what I'm told. Different countries do it differently. Different clinics do it differently. You know, I'm going by what I'm told. So I was told it's not necessarily normal for my age. And that I was making pretty much the right decision to go ahead and do what I want to do, as long as it's what I wanted, which it is. So I did feel a bit deflated. I think I came home and I had a bit of a cry, and then I was like, okay, like, this is what I'm meant to do, clearly. You know, I want to be a mum. Make it happen. We make our own fairy tales around here. We don't sit on our ass waiting for it to come to us. So yeah, I then had my consultant appointment, and this is where my journey kind of takes a bit of a tailspin. Like I said, I got bad luck with consultants, and this particular one seemed to have an opinion when it came to autism, specifically autism, but I think chronic illness in general. And again, I was going to say everyone's entitled to their opinion, but really? Are you really? No, because can I just say, whether you're chronically ill, you're disabled, you still deserve to, like, live a normal life. Normal? What is normal? $1 million question. When you figure it out, let me know. But yeah, so I no longer I fit the criteria for the nurse-led clinic. However, they needed to check with the consultants because I obviously have 2 medical devices. The consultants decided no. No, she can't go under the nurse-led. Despite the fact that I meet the criteria, I'd have to go under the consultants. So at that point, I had my second consultant appointment because I had technically switched clinics, even though they are connected. It's just one's nurse-led, one's consultant-led. Like I said, I did not get along with this consultant at all. And I have learnt from my past, if you did watch all my Shitty Susan content, that entire hospital put me through hell. It wasn't just one consultant in the end, but that entire hospital put me through hell. However, in that first appointment with her, I knew that something wasn't right. And instead of advocating for myself, waiting a bit longer and kind of saying, you know, this is not working for me, I don't deserve to be treated like cattle or a number or like shit, I stayed in that, and it led to a lot of medical trauma, as well as negligence, as well as a lot of other shit. And unfortunately for me, that does affect me on a day-to-day basis now. So when I realised that this consultant just wasn't going to work, I stood up for myself this time. I'm very proud of saying that. And I said, no, you know, this is not happening. It took me a little while to do it, and I did waste quite a few months of this journey already, but yeah, I didn't stick with that consultant. For that first appointment, she reduced me to tears, and like said things like, do you even have anyone, as in like, did I have support, amongst 101 other things. And in the end, ended up with the conversation that I needed a letter from the GP to say that I was stable to be a parent. That didn't go down very well. So obviously I went to my GP, I asked for that to happen. Eventually they did write the letter. I gave it to the clinic. That consultant obviously had bias, and she obviously didn't agree to me doing it, and despite having a letter from another medical professional, decided nah, that weren't good enough. So like I was saying, I stood up for myself this time, and I said, no, I'm not doing this. You've got a letter from a medical professional. There's clearly some bias in this. Like, I'm not getting anywhere with this consultant. I want to change consultant, otherwise I'll change clinic. I did eventually change consultant. He rang me. He seems like a very good consultant. I mean, he's still my consultant now, so something must be okay. And he decided that the GP letter wasn't good enough, and that they would need another letter from the GP, as well as letters from specialists, which happened to be urology, so my tube change nurses, which are specialist nurses, and stoma nurses, which are also specialist nurses. As well as I would need an anaesthetic review, and would go from there. So 8 months later, after a lot of crap, I've finally been approved to start. All letters are in, all letters are done. You know, we're on track now. My second baseline results were my right ovary had dropped to 7 follicles and my left ovary had gone up to 10. So can I also say what results you get in these scans? Don't take them as gospel, because they can change either way, you know. It is very hard. It is very hard to kind of not get attached to the numbers, and I think that's one of the things I'd say to you. Don't get attached to numbers, because trust me, they change. From the price that you will be paying, you know, that will change. It constantly changes. From your follicle count, from your AMH, like, and again, like when you get your blastocysts or the eggs, your embryos, like all these numbers will constantly change, and it's very easy to get very hung up on them, and it can be hard to let them go, because at the end of the day you lose a bit of control in this. But one of my biggest bits of advice would be try not to hold on to the numbers, because again, they change despite the fact that, like, obviously some things are changed. My clinic were very happy with that as my baseline, and tomorrow I have my, technically I think it's like my 3rd or 4th consultant appointment for this, and we will see how that goes. That's just that kind of to talk about the start date. as well as other things. And after that, I also have my counselling appointment. I am using donor sperm, so you have a implications counselling appointment, and I'll touch on these things in their own videos because, you know, I haven't done them yet, so I can't really comment on them. But yeah, and next week I should be choosing my donor. Again, it will be its own video, otherwise this will be very long. So yeah, we've officially started this cycle, and I plan on vlogging it all and doing informative videos, as well as kind of discussing the discrimination that people face when they have medical devices. And it's definitely there, you can't say it's not, it is there, it is unfortunate. And all I can say to you, my people who have medical devices who are going into this, before you start, get all your letters. Then you can just go, here's everything, because it does put a delay to your journey, you know. I know it's part of the journey, but I had to literally wait 8 months for all of this sort of stuff. It's a long time, you know, like 8 months. Think about it logically, like my kids could have been born like next month. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, you just have to make things easier on yourself. And one of the things is to prepare as much as possible, but also understand that this timeline that you have in your head is very unlikely that it will follow 100%, you know. So if you've got in your head, right, 1 year from now, like, I will have my kids, like, that might not necessarily be true, and I hope for everyone's sake that it is true. But like, for people like me, and you know, the people I'm putting this out for is more for people with medical devices, even though I will obviously detail the IVF journey in general, but this is more for chronic illness and medical devices and pregnancy to do with that, or pregnancy with that, can I just say. So for them sort of people, make sure you have all your ducks in a row, which includes obviously getting these letters. It's not nice to need permission from complete strangers to be a mum. It's really not fun, but you know, like I said to my patient coordinator, I'm fighting like hell for my kid, and they don't even exist right now. And I think that speaks volumes. And I think for anyone who judges someone who decides to do this by themselves, like, you know, you're not gonna go through this unless you really wanted it. You just wouldn't. And a little bit of empathy, one, is free, and two, you know, it is nice to give, because it's not easy, it's very hard. At times it is painful, like when you lose that idyllic family life that you kind of had planned. It is very hard to get your head around, and there are times now that I can picture it a very certain way with a very specific person that is not there. And you know, sometimes you take a minute, and that's okay too. Like, for the ladies watching this who are kind of deciding if this is right for you, all I have to ask is, 1, what do you lose from inquiring? And 2, like, 5 years from now, you're going to regret it. You know, only you can answer that. Like, I can't answer that for you. I can't wave a magic wand. And I think even when I thought I made peace with it, there was a specific time when I was doing my non-profit organisation and my Advent had ended. And that morning after my Advent had ended, I woke up and I was like, right, I'm ready. Like, this, I was completely at peace with it. And then when that 1 year mark came from my relationship ended, I was like, right, you know, we're a year after. This is still what we want. We're doing it. Like, we're doing it. and it's not been easy. It is not the easier route, definitely not, but there's something empowering behind it. And that's not empowering in the sense of we don't need a man, because babe, you still need the man. You gotta pay for the fucking spunk instead of having the fun. Yeah, I'm not joking. That's not the fun part at all. But it's empowering in the sense that you're creating your own fairy tale. You know, you are doing what's right for you. And I can honestly say without a doubt, and I can't wait to show you guys the people who are involved in this, who are my support system, who love my child already before they're even here, and it's so obvious and it is so beautiful. Like, you, just because then they haven't got the perfect idyllic family view that we're all told is the perfect view, does not mean that your child will not be loved. It does not mean that you're going through this alone, even though I will touch on different things eventually, like how lonely it can feel, because there's different levels to it, of course. Yeah, you've got this. If you've been thinking about this, research. Like I said, what have you got to lose? I guess that was kind of my introduction to my IVF journey. There'll hopefully be a lot more videos, and I can't wait for you guys to come on this journey with me. It's a journey that I've always wanted to go on. Again, it's different from how I first imagined it, but it's still beautiful in its own way. And I can't wait to get back to doing this and doing Just Tricky again. And I've realised that I'm not just Tricky, and I'm not just Vic. I'm both. Like, I am definitely both. Advocating has become a huge part of my life, and yeah, I miss it. So I'm glad to be back and create content for you all. And if you are new here, if you could subscribe, that would be great, because it does help me out. It shows me that, you know, I'm not doing this just to talk to my phone, that it does make a difference to someone. And yeah, that in itself is enough for me. So yeah, welcome to the next journey of my life, I guess. Thank you for watching, and as always, think awareness, not attention.